am the CEO and founder of Career Connectors. Yes, this call is being recorded because we're going to send you the link after the event so that you can watch it back if you would like. You're going to hear so much great information today that I want to be sure that you have the opportunity to look back and see any questions you have can be answered. So if you have not yet, please jump over into the chat and let us know who you are and where you're calling from and kind of the job that you're targeting, because that will help us connect with each other and get a sense of who is here today. Also, somebody dropped this in the chat and I thought, I'm going to use this. Turner said it is a triumphant Thursday. So that's what we're going with it. We're going with a triumphant Thursday, everyone, because you're going to leave here and you are going to feel more prepared. You're going to feel like you know a next step to take, and you know you're going to have some resources. So again, welcome, welcome. And we're so glad to have you guys here today. A little bit about Career Connectors. We are a nonprofit organization based in the Phoenix, Arizona area, but we serve people nationally. And I started this organization 15 years ago, just on a whim, really. And being, I was volunteering. We were in the middle of the Great Recession, and I just wanted to help some people write resumes. And that has turned into Career Connectors serving over 65,000 people and being able to bring in some of the best professionals, speakers, resources available. And that's what we're going to hear from today. So if you are in the midst of job search, we understand. Every one of our stories is different, but most of us that are serving in this capacity have in some way, shape, or form at one time in our life been affected by career transition. And I know when I did 15 years ago, it was a complete shock to me, and we weren't certain of our next step. Well, that's why we're here, and that's why we do this, is so that we can help provide some support and resources as you take your next step. So thank you for jumping over into the chat. If you could also, I would love to get a sense of who is here today. So I am going to ask you to drop in one of these numbers. If you are actively looking for a job today, then I want you to jump over to the chat and drop a 1. Actively looking for a job. If you are kind of like what we call maybe passively looking, so maybe you have a job and you're just kind of tipping your toe in, seeing what's out there, or you're doing some professional development work to maybe get ready for a future job search, drop a 2. So if you're actively looking, that's a 1. If you're kind of like, I think I maybe want something, but I'm not really sure, I'm doing some development, that's a 2. And then if you are a speaker, a coach, a partner, a community resource here today, please put a 3. So 1, 2, or 3, so we can get a sense of who is here today and how many people are actively looking, passively looking, and then how many support resources we have today. All right, so our mission is all about empowering people, job seekers, to really connect and be able to find your next step. And so that's why we're here, and that's why we bring these speakers and resources to you. So I want to go through a couple of the tech components, and so everyone is familiar with what is going to happen today. We are asking everyone to stay on mute. So if you can make sure to stay on mute until we go into the breakout rooms. And when we go into the breakout rooms, you'll be able to unmute yourself and be able to ask questions that way. If you have questions or comments, please use the chat. Not only am I watching the chat while we run the event today, we have a team of people watching the chat. We have coaches, resume writers, career coaches, LinkedIn coaches, community resources in the chat. And you can see if you scroll through, there's a whole bunch of 3s. Those 3s are partners and community resources. So they're going to be answering questions as well. So feel free to drop your questions. We may not get to all the questions in the chat. And if not, it will likely be answered by somebody that's on our team. So please drop your questions in the chat. Also, Bree, if you could move the slide ahead a couple, that'd be great. If you want, the best way for you to kind of see the event today is if in the top right corner, if you click view, you're going to see side by side speaker. And that's going to be the best way for you to watch the presentation today. So you'll both see the PowerPoint and you'll also see the speaker. And then when we go into the panel, the presentation will go away and you'll just see the 4 panelists or 3 panelists and the moderator. So that is the best way for you to see the event today. And then also at the end, we're going to go into breakout rooms. And so you are welcome to stay. I encourage you to stay, because in the breakout rooms, all of the speakers are going to be available, as well as additional resources. And so we have community resources today here from Maricopa County. And then we also have, of course, our resume writers, LinkedIn coaches, career coaches, a finance coach, and more will all be available for you at the end to have conversations with and ask your specific questions. Now, if you do need closed captioning, if you would like that part, just click show captions, and that is on the bottom of your screen. All right. The other thing I would love to start with and ask you today before we get started is jumping over into the chat. I would love for you to think about what is one resume question you have or one LinkedIn question, because you can see by the agenda today, we're going to do a panel of experts in the resume field. And so these ladies have been writing resumes professionally. They're trained every year. They're retrained. They're certified. They'll tell you about that. And they're going to answer your burning resume questions. And so I have a list, but also I'll be pulling some questions out of the chat. So if you have whatever question, your number 1 question you have for resumes, drop that in the chat this morning, or your number 1 question for LinkedIn, or maybe you have one for both. Drop those in the chat, and we will get to some of those as well. So you'll hear from our panel, and then we'll jump over to Arizona at Work, Maricopa County. You may be calling from outside of Arizona, but our organization is based in Arizona, so we're providing some additional resources for Arizona. And then after Stephen speaks, I'll close it out. And I'll also, for anyone that's not in Arizona, I'll provide some additional instruction and direction on where you can find the similar resources in your state and county. And then I will close it out, and we will go into breakout rooms. And so you'll see the list of the type of breakout rooms that are going to be available. And then we'll close out at 11:30. All right. So we have a great day for you guys today. I'm so excited to introduce you to our panelists. And I have been working with these ladies for many years. And Donna is actually our very first volunteer that we've had. So she has been serving the longest with me. She's been
the oldest.
and the oldest. So I would like to introduce you all to Donna Tucker, Brenda Mariah, and Lori Norris. Welcome, ladies. Hello. Hello. We're so glad to have you. And we are going to take a moment to make sure you are all pinned at the top here. Let's just get you all pinned. Let's see, Donna and Brenda. Brenda, there you are. Okay, and then myself. All right, it is best when we have, there we go. You guys should see myself, the moderator, and the 3 panelists that'll be here today. Welcome, ladies. Like, I love these ladies so much. I'm so grateful. The amount of people that they have served over the years, the guidance they've given, and the real results they've had. And the work they do to stay current is second to none. And so that's why we have them come in and do this event, because we hear over and over and over again the resources. So let's start there. Let's start with, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. And then one of the things I always think is fun, is one of the kind of greatest mistakes you see on a resume. So introduce yourself, and then just kind of tell us what's something you see. It's either ridiculous that you've seen, or it's kind of like a regular occurring error that people need to fix. So Donna, I'm going to start with you because you know you're the first volunteer ever.
Donna Tucker, my business is Career Pro Resume Center. And I've been writing resumes for, I don't want to say the total number, because that's one of the things you never do on your resume, is use a number bigger than 20. Never. But I'm a certified professional resume writer and nationally certified online profile expert. I am the secretary of the National Resume Writers Association and the secretary of the local Resume Writers and Coaches Association. And I think the biggest thing is that people do not focus their resume. They try to make one resume fit all the situations. They don't have the proper keywords. They don't have accomplishments that are relevant to the job. You can't be talking about job descriptions. It has to be about your accomplishments and talking to the job you're applying to.
Great. Thank you. And I know you're not going to tell us the years, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
You've been doing this, and you go and get recertified every year, or update your credentials every year, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Lots of that.
All right. Lori, I'm going to go with you next.
Hello, my name is Lori Norris. I am the owner of Get Results Career Services, and I have been doing this also for, well, okay, I'm about to reach 20 years, so I could still say that number, right? So I've been teaching resume writing and writing resumes for almost 20 years. I actually started out teaching resume writing to high school students, and then I worked for Maricopa Workforce Connections, now known as Arizona Outwork Maricopa County. I actually developed their resume writing curriculum way back when. I hope you're not still using it. It should be updated by now, hopefully. And so my specialty is military transition. I work with everyone, but my passion is helping those service members who have served our country to translate their military skills and transfer those into the private sector. I'm also the host of the Lessons Learned for Vets podcast, which is there to help military service members in that transition process. So if you know of anybody that is serving in the military, please share that with them. Donna stole my biggest thing. Like, everybody knows that I have to say the word focus in my podcast at least once every episode. So, but you know, she's been doing this longer, so we're gonna let her slide for stealing my thunder. Let's see. So I will say, here's my biggest issue that I see is that people try to tell us everything in their resume. I want you to know everything I've ever done. And all an employer really wants to know is what's relevant to them. And so, but 25 years ago, I won an award for best whatever. If you're not applying to be the best whatever that is, then it doesn't belong on your resume. And so really think about your resume. I'm going to get the word focus in here as a targeted, focused marketing document. And we only want to tell them what's important to them. You know, your resume isn't about you, it's about the employer and what their needs are. And so really think about, as you're writing that resume for that specific job or industry, what do they care about the most? And that's what goes on your resume, not everything you've ever done. So just keep in mind, your resume is about where you're going, not where you've been. So there you go.
Awesome. I love that. And I think people don't hear that enough, that the resume is not really about them. It's about the employer. That's just a really hard thing. You're like, I am writing about me though. Yeah. But really, that's where you're targeted, is to the employer. Okay, Brenda, over to you.
Okay, let's bring the energy. I have had my immunity and my coffee and all the things, so let's just rock and roll. I'm gonna do what I tend to advise clients to do when they're interviewing and somebody says, tell me a little bit about yourself. And so I'm gonna start with, I'm gonna rock and roll on that. And I'm gonna say, I'm Brenda Mariah, and I love helping people in the area of their careers. And I'm very proud to serve as the president of the National Resume Writers Association, the past president of the Resume Writers and Coaches Association, and hold a whole host of credentials from resume writing to LinkedIn profile development, job search coaching, interviewing, salary negotiation, and the gamut. And I'm very excited to be with you today because it is high time that we start to outsmart these systems, get paid what we're worth, and do work we love. So let's get it. The big thing that I see, because I cannot top what these two incredible ladies have already said. And so I'm going to actually lean to something that I saw a glimmer of in our chat this morning. And it was somebody that said something to the effect of, but I've been tweaking my resume every time and still no one is calling me. And so when I saw that, my thought was, I can't tell you how many times I'll hear people say things like that. We're picking up on some of the best practices. We're picking up kind of tangential pieces and peripheral pieces of information. We're picking up on some little nuggets here and there. But actually, when you look at that same resume, that resume probably wasn't a necessarily good resume to start with. So you can tweak something to death. You can tweak it all day till the cows come home. And if it doesn't have the right focus, if it doesn't have the right pieces that your audience actually cares about, like Lori and like Donna said, you can tweak that thing all day and we'll still be right here. And so let's make sure that we get some good foundational resumes before we start tweaking and customizing to specific audiences.
I love that. That's great, Donna, or I'm sorry, Brenda. I haven't heard somebody say it that way. So I love that you said that, because we tell people to tweak the resume all the time, but you're like, you got to start with a good product before tweaking good. Okay.
Before you go on,
Mhm.
don't want to discount the fact that your grammar and punctuation and spelling needs to be good too. That's the first thing I would notice because I'm kind of a grammar geek. And if there was a spelling error on a resume, I wouldn't even think twice about
I
that.
see Kitty Carlisle saying, yes, amen.
Yeah, I'm kidding too, sure.
Grammar police in the house, yes.
So that could have been one of the things you can tweak and tweak and tweak, but if you've got a spelling error that you didn't notice, that might be eliminating you too.
Yeah. So you guys, on your intros, thank you for talking about your different certifications and associations. Brenda, let's park on what you said for a second. You talked about the National Association of Resume Writers, and then you all talked about the Resume Writers coaching. Career coaching. You're gonna have to say it.
Resume Writers and Coaches Association.
They just changed the name this year, so
Yes.
they know it takes me a while to catch up to these things. So tell us what is, why does that matter? So Brenda, you're the president of the National Resume Writers Association, and Donna is a past president, and Lori is you were an officer, correct?
I am an officer currently from RWCA. Yes.
So when I say we bring the best, I'm not joking. So Brenda, tell us what that means.
So the National Resume Writers Association, the NRWA.org, is the only nonprofit organization in the space, in the development and training of professional resume writers and career coaches. We actually independently validate certification. So we actually host our own certifications. The NCRW is our nationally certified resume writer, of which I hold that credential. The NCOPE, the nationally certified online profile expert, which myself and Donna hold. And we will be releasing a new coaching certification later this year. So we are the rigorous arm of development that helps to really make sure we the folks that call themselves professional resume writers or professional career coaches, that they go through a very rigorous and intensive validation process so that you don't have an army of people out here calling themselves professionals and providing you assistance at a price, and they don't know necessarily the best practices to serve you. So we're very proud. We have our conference coming up next month, actually in about a month. So that's going to be fantastic. But this is where we come and get really concentrated learning. We learn about some of the things that I see y'all are caring about, like how do I contend with artificial intelligence, and what are the latest and greatest with applicant tracking software, and some of these things. But we also get to know other folks in our industries, so that if we're not the ones to help you, or we're not the best resources or voice for you, we have access to other folks that we can refer you to.
That's right. And I love that a lot of the resume writers and career coaches take a niche that is really important to them. So a lot of times I'll be asked, hey, who do you recommend? And really it's like, well, what do you do? Or are you a veteran, or are you, an engineer? Are you a student? Because we can kind of send somebody to the expert. So that's great. All right, you guys, here's one of my favorite questions, as you know. So there are 5,000 opinions on resumes, and they all differ if you ask 5,000 people. And I've even noticed it already in the chat. Like, I've been to multiple workshops and everyone says something different. So what do I do? So, you know, why are there so many resume experts or guidance? And, you know, when I was doing a resume and I asked my aunt Jane to help me, she had one opinion. But when I go online, somebody gives me a template that has another opinion, and then the trainer in a workshop told me another thing. So who do I trust? What do I do?
If I may, I'll jump in on this one because what I just kind of said about the National Resume Writers Association, this is the exact intention behind our association. Is, you know, we love our aunties. I love my aunties. My aunties are coming to visit this weekend, so that's going to be fun. But my aunties are not the ones that I should turn to when I have resume questions, because they haven't studied. They're not members of the National Resume Writers Association. They're not members of the RWCA. And so why could I, and I think about this, think about times when you've had somebody that said, oh, I can help you with your resume, and they're not your auntie. They're somebody that worked in HR. They're somebody who actually hires folks, but they don't, what they know is what they like. They're not necessarily helping you understand the more universal best practices. And so you really want to try to look to somebody who has been formally trained, as opposed to somebody who, well-meaning, may be simply giving you their opinion.
I like to say that people, like, resumes are as subjective as beauty, right? We all find different things beautiful. And resumes are very subjective, but the advice I'll give you is, if someone gives you their advice on your resume and they say, you need to change this, and they don't say why, they don't give you that strategic why behind it, then that's likely just an opinion as opposed to a advice that's going to make an impact. So if I tell you, you need to make sure that your name and address is not in a formal header, I'll tell you exactly why and why that would cause you an issue. And so make sure that they are giving you the reasons behind that. Otherwise, it's just like, I like this font. It's my favorite. I think it looks pretty. So.
Great.
And I have something to say on that too. If you're working with a recruiter that asks you to do a certain way, let's do it. If they're going to help you, some recruiters like to have all the resumes they submit to the employers look exactly the same, so there's no bias. But that's a whole nother thing. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to love that format. And I think that if you make sure you include your focus, Lori, right? You demonstrate the value to the employer, and you prove that value with accomplishments using numbers. The format is almost incidental as long as it's readable. But you need those elements with the keywords to be successful.
Yep, that's awesome. Okay, we're gonna jump into mechanics. I feel like people always have these questions about the mechanics of the resume. Can you first talk about the main areas that you need to include on a resume? What are essentials? Lori, you want to start with this one?
Sure. So the essentials that you must have on your resume, I have like I would say there's 4 main essentials, but first of all, the focus. We've got to know from the very first minute of reading your resume, I need to know exactly what you're targeting. So your summary needs to be, you know, like really targeted and focused. The highlights of your accomplishments need to be focused. I need measurable accomplishments. I need numbers. Tell me the scope of what you did. And so I need those measurables to get a sense of your impact. So those are 2 things that I will say right up front. And I don't want to throw all my 4 out there, but so I'll leave some others for Brenda and Donna. But if you get those 2, you're really getting started off on a solid foundation.
I absolutely agree with that. I would add, one of the things that I've seen a lot of maybe unfortunately lately is when I ask folks, hey, what are you doing to stay current in your field? Like, what kind of professional development have you participated in the last couple of years? And the answer is kind of a blank stare. And so please, please, please understand how important it is to stay relevant, to stay current, to stay in demand. I think Donna said something very important earlier, like a thing you did 25 years ago. Well, so the heck what? Nobody cares in the year of our Lord 2024 that you worked on a Y2K project. It's over. And we're going to let that thing go. And so if you don't have something new to speak to your new and relevant and modern day skill set, then we have a problem. And so make sure that I don't care what you have done up to this day, but now you have come to the right place to get all the encouragement and the prompting that you need. So today is the perfect day for you to jump in and register for a webinar, jump on one of the upcoming Career Connectors programs, get yourself plugged into something that keeps you at the forefront of what's happening in your industry. If you are helping people with their resume, you need to be signed up for our conference next month. Don't be out here calling yourself a career coach and you're not being trained and developed in that space. All of those things are absolutely crucial. And I want to be quiet and let Donna round us out with a number 4.
Well, I'm going to go back to a little bit even more basic. Don't forget your name, your phone number, your email address, your LinkedIn address. You do not need your street address. Now, the city and state can be important, and zip code can be important sometimes if you're applying local. If it's going to be a matter where you have to go into work, they might be looking for a certain zip code, because I don't want you to be more than 50 miles away from work and then you won't show up because of traffic and that sort of thing. So that kind of thing can be important, but no street address. And make sure that your email address is professional, preferably your name in some way, jessicapierce@gmail.com. None of the cute little foxy ladies or fastcardriver.com, kind of thing. We don't, that just isn't professional, and it will make a difference to people reading your resume.
Yeah, one of my favorites was I had a slick Rick at hotmail.com. So I was like, you gotta change that, Rick. He's like, what? I'm a motorcycle guy. It fits. I'm like, but that's not the job you're applying for. So one of the things you guys talk about a lot is with the name, phone number, etc. Can you talk about what it means if it's in a header on a Word document?
Yeah, and I just addressed that question in the comments too.
Okay.
So we'll get into talking about the ATS later, but there are certain things. So what the ATS does is parses information from your resume and puts it into their system. And many ATSs, not all, but many cannot read information in a formal header. So a formal header is when you have to double click to edit your name and contact info. And when you look at it on the document, it appears kind of faded. And in order to get out of it, you have to click a red X that says close header. And that's a formal header. So Microsoft Word templates, Canva and Pinterest templates, all of those typically put your contact information into formal headers. So yes, your name, your contact info goes at the top, but I don't want you to insert it in a formal header, because when ATS parses your information, you go into their system with no name, no phone number, no email address, no LinkedIn URL, and they're not going to go back through 700 resumes to figure out which one's you, no matter how good you are. They're just not going to take that effort. So that's what we mean by a formal header and why. That's
great. Okay. How about the next piece of, I just wanted to mention, there's a couple people answering some of the chat. And so Krista is in the chat. She is absolutely a professional certified resume. All of these ladies are like, yes. So she's telling you something 100% legit. Kitty is in the chat. She is a LinkedIn pro. So if she's answering some stuff in the chat, it's good to go. So I just want you to know. And then as I see other people that I know are here with us, I will let you know who those are too. Okay. So more on the mechanics side, the components. So number of pages, font size, traditional versus functional resumes and what that means. Can you guys walk through some of those? Because I've even seen on the chat, you know, I want to put my skills first and then my work experience follows. So talk to us about some of that stuff.
I'll chime in here to start us off. I just had that question come up yesterday. Somebody asked me, so how important is it that my resume be one page? I'm like, it's not. It's not. If you've had one job for the last 15 years, you probably only need a one-page resume. If you just graduated and you're kind of at the beginning of your career, you probably just need a one-page resume. But if you've had like 5 different roles in the last 20 years and they're all really meaty and you've done some incredible things, then a 2-page resume is probably going to be what you need. The vast majority of resumes that I write are 2 pages. And so every now and again, I can kind of squeeze in that under that 1 page, but please don't get yourselves all kind of twisted in knots over if it's 1 page or 2. Now, to the point of I'm working with the recruiter, they ask for a 1-page resume, provide a 1-page resume for that audience, but that's just not the rule universally. And then other mechanics wise, font, generally speaking, depending on the font, but size 10 to 12 is the kind of good normal range. I like Calibri as a font itself. It's clean, it's kind of universally accepted. And it's just a good font to use. It's really handy. So size 10 to 12, margins not smaller than a 1/2 inch all the way around the edges. Shading is excellent. Love shading. I use it in every resume. I use shading in every single resume that I will write. And it's funny, I saw a resume, it was years ago, but I was like, Lori Norris wrote this, didn't she? Because she has such a unique signature style. And I was like, oh yeah, you're fine. Like, don't call me after Lori has written your resume. It's perfect. And so, but shading, margins, font 10 to 12, let's see, page size. Did I miss anything else? You talked about functional, or let us all take a moment of silence to remember the functional resume. Let it go.
Rest in peace.
And I know there are some that would disagree, but they are not NCRWs. They are not probably certified or credentialed resume writers. But let me tell you what I see when I see a functional resume. I see somebody who's trying to hide something. I don't see somebody who understands the best practice and is trying to cater to their audience. I see somebody trying to hide some big secret. And so please keep that in mind. But I'll shut myself up and hear from maybe Donna.
I've already forgotten the question. I was answering something in the
Mechanics.
Yeah, more on the mechanics. Yeah.
I think you covered most of it, didn't you?
Let me add something when you get done. So go ahead, Donna.
10 to 15 years is good. But there are times when you've had a long career, you want, there might be something way back, but don't put dates with it. You can stop with the dates at 15 years and just say prior experience and maybe just summarize it. There are times, but everybody's different and there really are no set rules. This is the way everybody has to do it. Your resume should never look like somebody else's.
Let's talk about the differences between, because I'm seeing some things in the chat. So there are really only 3 types of resumes. There is the chronological resume, where you start with your most recent work experience and work your way back 10, no more than 15 years. Then there is the functional resume, which is focused on your skill sets, and it's got like skill categories, and bullet points under those skills, but you don't list your work experience or the dates of your work experience. This is how we teach people coming out of prison, quite honestly, to write their resume. I did that when I worked for Maricopa County. And so that is something that because we said we're trying to hide something, but I'm going to tell you, even if you've been out of the workforce for 15 years as a stay-at-home mom, whatever the case may be, you can still write a chronological resume. Just come see us. We can teach you how to do that. So those are the two, functional and chronological. Now you bring those together and you marry them and have a baby. That becomes the combination resume. The combination resume is focused on skills, but it has your chronology at the bottom. Now I'm going to tell you the only kind of resume that an applicant tracking software knows what to do with is a chronological resume. So the only time you're going to use a combination or a functional resume, really, we don't want you to ever use a functional resume, but the only time you're going to use a combination resume is, let's say you're at a career fair and you want to showcase yourself to someone and you hand that to them. But you're always going to apply to a job using the chronological resume because the ATS knows how to take that information from your resume and put it into their system. So that's why we say no functional, because that takes your dates completely off. And the combination really shouldn't be used to apply online. Okay, hopefully that clears it up.
Yep. Great. Okay. Anything to add to that conversation, Donna?
No, she's good.
All right. So one of the things we're getting asked in the chat about is to clarify what we mean by don't put your contact information in the header, because people are going, well, where do I put it then? It goes at the top. So can you explain that?
It's part of the document. Just don't, it'll just be part of your document. The first thing when you have a blank sheet of paper, your name at the top, your phone number, your email, and then you'll start in with the resume and LinkedIn, and then start in the resume. It just isn't in a header section that, as Lori said, that you have to click on.
Yeah, and the best way to check that is open up your resume, and if you have to double click it to get into it and to change anything, you're in a header. If you just can go and start typing right out, editing it right away, then you're good. You're not in the header. Does that make sense? Is that right? Okay. Okay, good. Now, a big question, an area we always touch on, and actually you've already dropped a couple tips about this, but how far back in experience should we go? And what do we do about gaps? So I'm kind of combining the two because sometimes they go together. So some people have been a stay-at-home mom or dad for many years, or they had gaps because of COVID in 2020 and 2021, or taking care of a parent, or so many reasons. And so what do you do about gaps, and how far do you go back in history? And that deals with some of the ageism stuff we know it can happen.
Yeah, see, now you've spoken my code word and you've activated me because you said ageism. And that's something I am just superbly passionate about, is making sure we're not setting ourselves up to be discriminated against in this already challenging job search landscape. And so there are definitely things that we can do. Now, Donna said earlier, she'll never go past 20 years. My magic number is actually 15. And so even that, well, Brenda said 15 and Donna said 20. It's not like, oh my God, you're just going to fail because you said 20 instead of 15. No, we both are very well informed, and we both understand when it would be appropriate to use one versus the other. But if I go back and I say I'm a seasoned professional with 35 years of experience, this is the bigger issue, where we start to invoke discrimination into the conversation. But yeah, there are some things that we can do gap-wise, I think, to help fill in some of the time. Essentially, it's about accounting for time. Because if you have an employment gap and it's greater than 6 months, I don't even really register things less than 6 months, but if it's greater than 6 months and I ask you about it and your response to me is, yeah, well, I've been looking for a job, it's hard out here in these mean streets. Well, one of the first thoughts that I have is, how have you kept up? How have you stayed current? Do you even still look? I don't know if I told y'all today, but in my past life, I was an engineer. I have a degree in engineering. I have a certification in project management. I once upon a time used to be able to build a whole computer from nothing. But can I do that today? No. Why? Because it's been 20 something years since I've learned those things and I haven't kept up with it. And so don't expect me to see your 20-year gap because you stayed home with children and just be like, oh, all is well. You could still be a director of IT. So much has changed if there's a gap. And so your job is to account for the time. Your job is to account for the time. And that means, what did I do volunteer wise? Did I volunteer with an organization like Career Connectors? Did I enroll in some sort of learning program? I don't care if it's a formal degree or a smaller, shorter certification. Did I do something that kept me sharp, kept me informed, and kept me on the cutting edge? That's how I want you to account for the time. Now, one of the biggest things that people are doing that keep them out of the workforce that has nothing to do with raising children is caring for elder family members. And so when you have had to become a caregiver, ask me how I know, first of all, it's mentally taxing. So it's very difficult to think about trying to work full-time, search for a job full-time, and provide full-time caregiving. And so simply like a 1 or 2 lines that just kind of read, this is my famous line, I'll say professional development and caregiving. And from this date to this date, and I put it in the experience just like it was a job, just like it was any other job, because now it just accounts for the time. Oh, well, what were you doing since 2021? Well, I was taking these courses, earning these certifications, and providing some caregiving for my loved one. And we're all good here. I just needed to know what you were doing with your time, and not that you were just sitting there wasting away and now you don't have a clue how the world works anymore. And so I'll be quiet.
But there's no need to give a big explanation on the resume. If it's important to an employer, they'll ask you in an interview. And it isn't something that's going to keep you from getting an interview. Just enough so they know that there's something went on, and especially with that professional development. LinkedIn has some wonderful courses, if nothing else, that you can do at home. It doesn't mean you have to go back to college.
Yeah, Kitty, can you drop in the LinkedIn Learn information? Thank you for responding to everybody out there. That's a great tool. Donna, thanks. Okay, Lori, over to you.
Well, I was just going to say, I would add to that what Brenda mentioned. I might say something like care no longer needed, ready to return to work full time. So that now they're like, oh, well, you're going to have to go and take care of your sick mom, take her to the doctor, whatever the case may be. I like to do that in terms of,
Yeah.
you know, and it's funny because Donna's 20, Brenda's 15. Because I work with service members, I try to stick at 10 years because I don't want to convey that they're retiring, because retiring brings up age discrimination. Retiring brings up, oh, you're getting a pension, I can lowball you on salary. And so it's funny, but all of us have strategic reasons why we go back that far. And so, you know, I don't want to see early 2000s or 90s dates on your resume, because people will start to do the math. And, you know, all of us ladies that are saying this are probably of an age that we could be discriminated against. And so we say this from a place of love. We know that we're better employees today than we were 20 years ago, but we always have to think about where discrimination comes from. It's fear. And age discrimination is you haven't kept current with your technology. You haven't kept current with your skills. You don't have the energy. You're only going to be here a short time. And if they don't know my age from looking at my resume, I can address those fears when I'm sitting in front of them. And I can talk about those things on my resume in terms of keeping my skills current. And so it never becomes an issue. So that's something that I would say to really think about in terms of ageism.
That's great. Thank you, ladies. That's fantastic. Okay, I want to jump over to some of a big thing you said. It was the first thing we talked about around what are the main things to include on your resume. And this is the measurements, the accomplishments. And so can you guys talk about what that means? What is an accomplishment statement? Where does it go? And why is it important and how to incorporate it? So all of that around accomplishments.
To me, just really quickly, because I know the others are going to have these long, beautiful explanations. My deal is, were you any good at what you did? Or did you just show up for work? When you use a job description, anybody who ever held that position or that title could say exactly the same thing. What makes you special? What makes you stand out? How did you bring value to that company? And it makes them feel that there'll be a benefit to hiring you because you can do that wonderful thing for them too. Anytime you can use numbers, increase something by a percentage or reduce something by a percentage, it doesn't have to be exact. If you don't have numbers, go with your gut, but couch it with as much as, or maybe more than. People know that it's not an exact number.
Donna, I think you
Now
just
the articulate ones can get going.
no. Look, I think Donna just had her own mic drop moment because I was just like right the heck on the head. And it really does. It boils down to so many times I see individuals kind of saying what they were supposed to do, responsible for this and responsible for that, and not giving a sense of how well they did anything. And then those same individuals are saying, but I need to make $130,000 a year and I'm not going to take any less, but you haven't provided any evidence that you are going to earn that money. There's going to be any sort of an ROI on paying you $130,000. Have you generated revenue? Have you saved costs? Have you built a high performing team? How do you know that? Did you accelerate a process? I come from a world in manufacturing, and so if you could like triple or 4x some throughput on a process, that's a major cost savings. And if you're not telling me that you can do that, if you're a project manager and you're not giving me a sense of I've done this on time with this kind of budget and we met our quality standards, if you're not giving me a sense of how good you have done anything, then we are going to have some serious challenge being able to justify, well, we know we're looking to hire somebody at this 130K price point, but this person hasn't given me any evidence that they're going to earn that back for us. And so maybe next resume that actually provides some proof. And one thought that I have, and then I'll be quiet, is just, it's a simple little technique that I'd like for you to think about when you're going through the bullet points on your respective resumes. And it's to ask yourself the question.
Oh, Brenda.
Question.
Okay, there she goes. Brenda, can you say that again? You kind of froze.
Oh, oh, my internet connection is unstable. Let me shut off my video and I'm gonna just talk it through, because at some point you're gonna look through your bullet points and it's gonna say, I was responsible for this and I was responsible for that. And I want you to ask yourselves, so
what is what she's saying.
So what? So yeah, I'll take over because her and I talk about this a lot. So what value did that add? So what impact did that make? So what difference was that for the company? Sorry, Brenda, I jumped in for you because we both talk about this. Yes,
carry on.
Yeah, you go ahead. You're back.
Okay, sorry. This is weird. But yeah, so what? And so if I was responsible for owning this thing, the question is, so what? And I want you to almost get a little bit defensive about it, right? So what? Well, I had to do like 400. Well, so what? Well, that caused like 300 million in revenue. So instead of telling me what you were responsible for, tell me that you generated 300 million in revenue by serving 400 clients every month using this kind of software tool. That is the thing that mattered, not what you were supposed to do in the first place. Thank you.
So Brenda, I just want to add on to that. I sat next to Brenda last month. We were helping with an outplacement. and in a small town in northern Arizona. And every person that she would sit next to talk about their resume, she would ask, tell me about your achievements and some of the, and I think every single one of them, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think every single one of them was like, well, I just have this job and I just do it. And so it took work for her to interview them, talk to them, confirm into them that they are worthy, that they have done good stuff. And so just if you're struggling, you can ask people that you've worked with. You can ask, of course, other resume writers. You can ask people you know, and they will help give you guidance, because every one of us has achieved things and done things that are worthy of talking about. Brenda, Donna, did you have were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say a plug for, this is when a professional resume writer can come in and be helpful if you really can't think of anything, because you can't go without it.
That's right.
If you think you have nothing to say on your resume besides the duties and responsibilities, then you need a professional resume writer to help you.
I always say that my job is to poke at you until you give me the numbers that I'm looking for. So like, that's what I feel like is I feel like sometimes I'm a miner. I have to get in there and mine out those skills and accomplishments and contributions. Like, I want you to take the word just out of your vocabulary. I was just fill in the blank. I had a lady say, I was just a daycare provider. I'm like, oh, well, how many kids did you watch? She's like, well, I had up to 6 kids. I'm like, oh, okay. So of those 6 kids, how many did you lose every day? Right? How many were seriously injured under your care? How many sat in their dirty diapers all day? Like, so obviously it's like, did they starve? And so I had to kind of like shock her and like, of course not, And so like, well, these are things we can turn into accomplishments. And it's so, I want you to remember that your resume is a strategic marketing document, right? And marketing in its element doesn't sell the product, the features of the product. It sells the benefits of the product, right? Jeep doesn't sell cars, they sell adventure. Yeah. Dove Beauty doesn't sell soaps and lotions, they sell self-love and acceptance, right? Coca-Cola doesn't sell fizzy brown sugary products, they sell friendship and fun. So what are you selling? And your accomplishments, your measurable accomplishments, are your proof of your worth. And so when they read your resume, you want them to feel compelled to pick up their phone and call you, because they need you to come do that for them. So write your resume about your employer and what they need. Beautiful. And that will change everything.
That's so good. So good, Lori. All right. Something new that I want to talk about is AI. And so half of you on the call just went, I'm checking out. And half of you on the call went, yes, tell me more. So I want you all to lock and load on this part, because AI is changing the way just the world is acting and things we're doing. And so AI is artificial intelligence, and people are using it for all kinds of things. And so can you ladies talk about what are the advantages, and then possibly also the disadvantages, and what do we need to be watching out for?
May I start on this one? I have a client who's using AI on his book. So I have subscriptions to, I think it's 8 different AI programs now, and I've tried them all, and I played with them a little bit. If you try to have an AI write your resume, people are going to know you didn't write it yourself. They all seem to come out almost the same if you try to do that, no matter what kind of information you put in. But AI can be very helpful in helping you find the keywords you need. Take a job description and copy and paste it into AI and ask it to pull out the keywords and key phrases that will be important to write a resume with. It'll do a beautiful job. There's all kinds of things you can use it for, but don't expect it to write you a good resume. It's so impersonal, people will know. And to some employers, it's cheating. You know, you can't use it in academia, so why would it be any different in the workplace? But the key words are so important because it goes back to the applicant tracking software, because you need those for the applicant tracking software. So use it to your advantage. There's a lot of things, but don't let it write your resume.
I don't want you to let me write your resume for you. Like resume writers, AI, no one should write your resume for you. Your resume needs to be yours. It needs to be in your words with your personality. You need to be able to support every item in that resume. If there's a number in there, you better know where it came from, because I could get you into interviews all day long, but you have to support it in the interview. And so all three of us, we don't write your resumes for you. We write them with you. We are your partner in this process. And so I just put in the chat, don't let AI replace you. Let it be your research assistant. And so
That's
AI, you know, like if we think about where like AI learned how to write resumes, it learned it from scraping Reddit threads. And I don't know about you, but I don't want Reddit to write my resume either. And so does it know how the standards are of resumes today? Probably not. And I'll also tell you, it'll make stuff up.
Oh, yes.
If you don't read it and edit it. And I think that AI speaks in a lot of superlatives, and it speaks in a way that just feels like a robot. And so use AI to ask. So the best thing about AI is you can teach it how to do things. Like I'll ask it to do something and I'll write in there, I'm like, that was way too campy. Please write that in a more straightforward, professional way. And it'll change it. Like it learns, right? And so I use AI to ask questions, to look into things, to help me revise something, but I would never just put my customer's information into a resume or into AI and say, hey, can you write this for me? That's not how it works. So.
And it's not ethical. It's not ethical as professional resume writers that what do you think we would then turn around and just feed your information into an AI bot and say, here you go, resume delivered? Of course we're not. And I think for those of you who want to kind of investigate and explore AI, sometimes it could be better than starting from a blank page, right? We can get a paralysis just staring at nothing. So it can be a decent starting point, but no matter what, and I think they both have said it wonderfully, there will be a high degree of you still getting in there and making some modifications, and you, friends, have to defend every word that's on that resume. So make sure you understand every little thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And everyone, listen up. We will be sending, as part of your email that you're getting after this event, we will be sending an AI guide for job search. So things like, hey AI, what are some of the best keywords to use based on this job description? So things like that. Hey AI, how do I prepare my accomplishment statements? Things like that. And so make sure you take a look at that PDF we're sending out. It's created by one of our awesome coaches and speakers, Justin Jones, and his team. And so we will be sending that over in your email. All right, ladies, thank you for addressing AI. Now we get to do the other hot topic, applicant tracking software. So everyone loves the ATS. And so how do we get past the ATS to ensure somebody is looking at my resume?
Oh, can I take this one? I love this. So there is no evil robot shooting down your resume. There is an applicant tracking software. That applicant tracking software is taking information from your resume and plugging it into their system so that they can keep track of you, applicant tracking, right? But if you've ever gotten one of those immediate rejection notices, you put your resume in and like within minutes or an hour, you get that, sorry, we're going another direction, or you weren't qualified. That is because a human being behind the ATS set up a knockout question. And they said, if you have 10 years of experience, you go on. If you don't, you get the rejection. If you have a bachelor's degree, you go on. If you don't, you get rejection. So there is always a human that is working that ATS. So that we talked about like not putting your contact information in a formal header. That's one way of getting past the ATS. So we need to make sure our resume is formatted in a way that the ATS can read our information. So using a chronological format, keeping your contact info out of a formal header. And I'll let the other ladies talk about some of the other formatting elements, but it's really important to understand how an ATS works. And just know that what they're doing is they're taking information from your resume, putting it into their system, and then they're scanning your document and they're looking for keyword match. And if it were as easy as, just making sure you copy pasted the job posting in white font at the bottom of your resume, then we would all have interviews. But you don't want to do that because, by the way, ATSs turn white font into black font, and they will know that you did that you were cheating. So we don't want to do that. But again, these are some things to think about. Like, stop worrying about beating the ATS. Make sure your resume is formatted in a way that the ATS can understand, and then take the time to learn what are the keywords in that career field, in that company for that job, and make sure you've got them in your resume. That's how you make it through that scan. So I'll let you guys talk about the rest.
Keep in mind, there are hundreds and hundreds of different ATS software systems. So some of the newer ones are going to be very sophisticated, and they might be able to read the headers. I don't know. But you've got to, just like a newspaper writes to a 5th grade level, even though most people have more education than that, you have to write to the bottom denominator. So be sure that, where was I with that? You don't want to use any text boxes if you can avoid it. You can, although some people say that they can be read. So I'm not going to be the expert on it. None of us are, because it depends on the product, I think, that they're using. Text boxes and columns. Microsoft Word has a template that looks lovely, but it's columns. And how well does the applicant tracking software read it? Because it reads left to right, and it cannot read columns. It doesn't read up and down. So be careful of some of that. The plainer, the better, because it's all about the words with applicant tracking software. It's all about the words. The format really doesn't mean too much. And if you do want to have a beautiful, fancy resume without a picture, by the way, take it with you to an interview. But for applicant tracking software, you want to be very simple.
And here's a super simple pro tip. If you want to save your very formatted resume as a plain text file, certain things are going to reveal themselves. And so if you're curious, save your own document as a just .txt file and holler at us later. Call us later when you realize you need some help.
And does it matter if we submit a resume in PDF or Word to the ATS?
I think there are certain, to Donna's point, there are hundreds of different brands of ATS, and some can very well function with certain types of PDF documents, while the probably bigger, more universally accepted is the Word doc. And so I'm always going to play it safe and use Word doc.
And not Google Docs. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh no, please.
Not use Google Docs.
Yeah, we mentioned columns, text boxes, tables, headers. I'm sorry, I said tables. Don't forget tables.
Yes.
Things in tables cannot be read, and ATSs also cannot read graphics. So charts, pie charts, like word art, things like that. So
however, if you do want to put a nice graph in your resume, underneath it, put the content in words.
Yeah.
Okay, I know we only have like 10 minutes left and I have LinkedIn questions, but I have to ask this resume question. It's being asked a lot in the chat also. And so we know, or we've heard, and some people are updating their resume, tweaking their resume for each job. So we've talked about getting the content solid first. But then why? Why do we have to update it for each job? What does that mean? And how long should that take us?
So here's how I kind of provide guidance to the folks that work with me is, do you just want so y'all have to pardon me, the season of life I'm in is about dating and such, but do you just want a partner? Or do you want a partner that actually speaks to your values? Do you want a partner that you get along with, that you actually like being around, that brings joy, maybe like some of the activities and hobbies that you like, and you all, get on well together? Is that what you want? Or do you just want somebody? Because when we just send out the same resume to everybody, you're just saying, hey, and I know Lori's got a really good anecdote to speak to this. So I'd love for her to share about the fishing, but this is why it's so important to speak to the unique audience, because otherwise we're just out here I just need somebody. I just need a job. I really don't even care which one it is. I just need somebody to give me a chance. Well, that's not how this works. You, friends, are in competition with so many other people who are vying for that same one job. And we can't be out here assuming that everybody's just out to get us, nor can we be out here assuming that everybody owes us a chance when we have not told them directly, I know what you want. I can provide what you want. See, here are all of my examples. See, here are all of my past successes that indicate future success for you. All of these things. I'm not talking directly to you, then don't expect me to just give you just some sort of handout. This is a tough love moment. I don't like to say that, but it had to be said. I hope y'all love me anyway. Lori, please tell your story because I love it.
Yes, we do.
This kind of goes back to focus, but the way I like in a job search is to fishing in the ocean. And if you are to go out today and you jump on a boat and you say, I'm going to go catch some fish, and I ask you, what kind of fish do you want to catch? You're like, I don't know. I just want to go fishing. So I'm going to get on the boat in the Pacific Ocean. I'm going to head out. And if I don't know what I'm trying to catch, what bait should I bring? Some fish like live bait. Some fish like dead bait. Some fish swim on the surface of the ocean. Some live on the floor of the ocean. So I don't know what tackle to bring. Some fish swim in warm waters and some in cold waters. So what part of the ocean do I go to? And so I'm going to come back from a day of fishing and I'm going to be hungry and sunburned and frustrated. And I'm going to throw up my hands and say, there are no fish in this ocean. And we know that's not true, right? So if you're frustrated in your job search and you're saying no one's hiring, I'm going to tell you that's not true. I get emails from people literally weekly who are landing jobs because they're going about it in a very focused, targeted manner. And so if you don't know what kind of job you're looking for, you're just creating a generic, unfocused resume and you're just throwing it out there, hoping that something sticks. So that generic, unfocused resume that you don't have any idea if it's going to, if it's focused to an employer, is like running around the ocean with an empty hook in the water. And you might by accident run by a fish and snag it. But I would rather go out, get my fish, come back and start eating, except I hate fish. I don't eat any fish, but you know what I mean. So you really have to be like focused and targeted. And so here's what I like to do is I like to think of, Brenda talked about earlier, start with a solid foundation, right? I want to build a solid house that is like insulated walls, good windows, a strong roof. And then as I have a different buyer come into my house, I stage it to make them happy, right? I make it pretty. I make sure that it appeals to what they like. Like think of it in that way too. That targeting and focusing of your resume is putting the icing on the cake. it's really dressing that cake to give to the right person. So that was a lot of analogies all wrapped up in one, but
You'll
that's
stand
something
out,
Mhm,
and you
yep.
stand out from the other candidates.
Yep. Lori's really great at analogies, you guys.
Yeah.
No, that was really bad just now. So.
Get like 5 an hour. No, kidding. Okay, I want to jump into just a couple LinkedIn questions, ladies. So we're getting a lot of questions. Thank you, Kitty, for responding on the chat. The biggest one as related to resumes that I am seeing is if you guys are telling us to tweak our resume for each job, but our LinkedIn profile is static, essentially. I mean, you can change it, but when an employer is looking at my resume, but it's a little different than my LinkedIn profile, is that a problem? What do you suggest to help with that? Or I have 2 different careers I'm going after. Do I put them both on LinkedIn?
That's the bigger issue, right? Is if you have 2 different careers, but when you're doing something like, let's say you're in IT, and if you're in IT, like network infrastructure, but this one is like a, network systems, and this one is a network architecture, like this, they're in the same space, they're in the same realm. And so, yeah, the foundation of your LinkedIn profile is a little bit more static because you can still go in there and modify it as well. But it's fine. You should still be customizing to the specific vocabulary from that job posting, from one job posting to the next. And so just to put it in perspective, when I was in my own job search many years ago, I probably had about 29 or 30 different versions of my resume because I was, between education industry, healthcare industry, manufacturing industry. Was it manufacturing for semiconductor, which is what I was used to, or was it manufacturing a different type of product? And so I kept just morphing the vocabulary to fit the audience. And that is very, very normal. But if you are, let's say, pursuing a few different, not super related career paths, I'm going to call it out on your LinkedIn profile. I'm going to say, I'm this and I'm that. And now I can pursue both, and it doesn't confuse the person who then goes to view my LinkedIn profile. I can say I'm a teacher and I'm a technologist or whatever it is, the other thing that you're doing. And then one of the things I always am going to recommend is that you show how they overlap with one another. And so if there are things that from your world as a teacher that also apply to your world in technology, as our very crude example today, then please make sure to call those out, right? These are the things that affect both parts of my world.
In the about section, right, Brenda?
In the about section and then your headline.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The headline first. And remember that the beauty of LinkedIn is that it's job searching while you sleep, so to speak, because the recruiters spend a heck of a lot of money to have LinkedIn Recruiter. Just an individual, it's going to be like $850 a month. And that has nothing to do, isn't even close to what the corporate price of having LinkedIn Recruiter. So they're going to use it. And they're going to be looking for the keywords, just like the applicant tracking software is. Your skills section on LinkedIn, you can go up to 100 skills. Make sure they're the ones that LinkedIn recognizes. Don't make up funny words because that won't work. Your headline, which is right underneath your name, that's another place for the important key titles, job titles that you're looking for. And make sure that you post your resumes in the job section. You can have as many as 10, but the last 3 will count for keyword searches. And those things can be so important. I saw somebody earlier that asked about what if the job title that I had at my job doesn't match what I'm applying for now, but it was the same kind of thing. Then put both of them. Don't be afraid to use both. Put the legitimate one, the one that you were assigned at that, but then in parentheses or slash, put the job title as you know it to be that matches what you're applying to.
Great.
Amen.
Okay. Okay.
I want you to
Go ahead,
think
Lori.
about LinkedIn as like it serves two purposes, right? So as Donna said, it could be your job searching while you sleep. It draws people to you. So keyword optimize it and expand your connections so that when people do searches in LinkedIn Recruiter, or even if they don't have LinkedIn Recruiter, they do searches, you come up because you have those keywords. You filled it out. Don't just have a skeleton of a work experience section with just your job titles. Fill it out, put some keywords in there. Tell me a little bit about it. So it draws people to you that have never met you, but also I want to be able to have your resume in my hand, and then I go check you out on LinkedIn and I learn more about you. So think of LinkedIn as your ability to be a little bit more conversational. Tell me a little bit about your background in your about section, and to really just give me a sense of why I should reach out to you. So it really fills both of those purposes for you. So it shouldn't be a copy paste of your resume, quite honestly.
Great. So good, you guys. All right. We could talk all day long about resumes and LinkedIn, but we got to wrap it up. All three of these ladies are going to be in the breakout sessions. We also have two additional professional resume writers that are going to be in the breakout sessions, Krista and Valerie. And then also, if you have questions on LinkedIn, these ladies can answer those, as well as Kitty Carlisle is also with us today. So lots of great information. We're getting a lot of questions in the chat about if someone wants to talk to you guys more, can you each drop in your contact information in the chat and how people would get a hold of you? Because what they're asking is, what if I want to work with you? Is there kind of an idea on the how much it costs, or what's the value? So would you guys address that a little bit?
Sorry, I was trying to find my calendar link to drop in. So yeah, it certainly for me, give me just a moment and I'll drop in that link in a sec. And for everybody who comes to the breakout rooms respectively, I'm sure I'll get the links as well. But pricing, it really does depend. It can be a few $100s to a few $1,000s, and it really just depends on what you need and how much of it you need. If you're paying for it, if your employer is paying for it, there are a whole host of factors in there. But I often like to tell folks to start with the consultation, because I can't tell you it's going to cost this much for you, because it's different for if you're a new graduate, if you've got just a handful of years of experience, or if you're a senior executive. Those are very different price points. Do you need interview coaching? Do you just need a resume? Do you also need a LinkedIn profile? All of those things matter. And so you probably should budget at least several $100s for a professional resume. And if that is just completely out of reach, which is understandable for folks who may have been out of work for quite some time, and the budget it ain't budgeting. The math ain't math, and it ain't just happening, honey. And so if that's you and you're really, really struggling, please know that we have heart for that. Some of us maybe offer, free consultations, some degree of pro bono, but more often than not, I often happily refer folks to our Arizona at Work partners, because they too are doing a good job of getting trained up and helping folks with bona fide, legitimate resume guidance. And so those things are no cost to you. And so if budget is the factor, go that way. If time is of the essence and you have a little bit to invest, please consider working with one of the professionals.
And know that all three of us offer things for free, all out there on LinkedIn. I have articles that are pinned on how to do it. I have a podcast with 167 episodes out there. We teach things like this. I teach a monthly resume writing workshop for Arizona at Work, Pinal County. And so you can access information free of charge. I can change my own oil. I'm a daughter of a mechanic. I know how to do it. But I really would prefer to trust the expert, right? I can go to IKEA and buy furniture and put it together myself, but I'd like that furniture to last. So I choose to purchase, to save my money and purchase furniture that is of quality. And so I'm not telling you that free resources aren't quality, that AI can't help you. just know that this is what we do. Between the three of us, we have, 75 years of experience probably. And so we're here to educate and inform you, and we offer our services free of charge all the time. And because we understand that, I've been unemployed. My husband has been unemployed in the last 30 years, right? So Brenda has had that same case. I think Donna's been the longest self-employed person among us, but all three of us have been employees and self-employed. And so we understand where you're coming from. And that's why we're here today to bring you this information at no cost.
Yes. Thank you, ladies, so much. They do serve all year long in multiple capacities, and one being this program. We do this twice a year, so you can even go back if you want and watch the previous recordings that are on our website. And then they all are regularly volunteers in doing resume review at our monthly events. And so I love your guys' heart. I so appreciate it. And thank you for being here today. Thank you for dropping your information in. They will be available during the breakout sessions. And can we just say thank you to our wonderful ladies for being here. Yeah, our virtual hand clap. We so appreciate you. If you have anything to drop in the chat to thank them, they would love that. And so we are a little bit behind, but we're just going to keep trucking through, and you can again talk to them during the breakout sessions, as well as a whole bunch of other people we have available to you. But next, as Bria's getting the presentation back up, I would like to introduce you guys. There was a lot of questions about why does it cost money for resumes? Well, we have support services like this event today, and like the ability to meet with in the breakout sessions. But also in Maricopa County, we have a ton of resources with Arizona at Work, Maricopa County. If you are not part of Maricopa County, because this is where we're based, I will touch on that after Stephen speaks and give you some additional resources, regardless of where you are in the United States. So Stephen Lewandowski is a training program supervisor with Arizona at Work, Maricopa County, Human Services Workforce Development Division. And he has been with the county for about 4 years. And he has the pleasure of working with an amazing team that is a professional in caring and supporting job seekers on their path to employment. He loves helping people, music, sports, traveling, and spending time with his wife, daughters, and families. And family. He has he really has a lot to share today, and he lives by the motto of make the most of your moments. So will you please help me welcome Stephen?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Brenda, Laura, Lori, and Donna. Great information. What a great way to start off the morning. Super happy to be part of this and share a little bit about what we do at Arizona at Work, Maricopa County Human Services Workforce Development Division. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit about the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. So who we are, Arizona at Work, Maricopa County, is a partner of the American Job Center Network. We help employers find the best employees for their needs. We also provide services and resources for job seekers to pursue employment opportunities. By developing our state's workforce and matching employers with quality job seekers, we strengthen Arizona's economy, and all are welcome. We are funded by the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, also known as the WIOA. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is a federally funded grant to help job seekers find employment and help employers find qualified workers. So a lot of ones in the chat, so that's what we do. We try to make those connections. The WIOA, it's not an entitlement grant. What that means is there is an eligibility process in order to determine what services you may be eligible for. And it's based on a variety of factors such as job history, education level, family size, income, challenges, and needs. Please note that the WIOA, it does establish a priority of service for adult employment and training activity. Veterans and eligible spouses receive priority of service for Department of Labor funded job training programs. Maricopa County adult WIOA funding will be utilized for the following priority populations: veteran or their eligible spouses who are low income or basic skills deficient, non-veterans or non-eligible spouses of veterans who are low income or basic skills deficient, and veterans and eligible spouses of veterans who are considered low income or basic skills deficient. We are excited to support our clients and community on their career path to achieving their career goals. Next slide, please. Thank you. So next up, what I would like to do is just provide an overview of our adult dislocated worker, smart justice, and youth program services. Now, we do have some colleagues that are here in this meeting as well. They will be part of some of our breakout rooms and go into this in more detail. But I really wanted to just highlight some of the great services that we do at Arizona at Work, Maricopa County, and Human Services. So for our adult dislocated worker and smart justice program services, some of the services that are out there is occupational skills training, apprenticeships, follow-up and support services, job leads, resume assistance, interview techniques, career guidance and assessments, career exploration, training workshops. We also have a business services team down below, mentioning there in the left-hand corner of your screen. They help connect with employers all throughout Maricopa County for job leads. We have a job blast that we put out weekly that's helped promote different job leads, hiring events, events going on through our centers and through our communities. The business services team also supports different hiring events and employer services. We have an amazing youth program that provides services such as paid work experience, occupational skills training, support services, GED funding, job leads, tutoring, financial empowerment, labor market information, post-secondary preparation, entrepreneurship, adult mentoring, counseling, follow-up services, alternate secondary school, leadership development, and also training workshops. If you do have a felony or currently on probation, parole, or recently released from incarceration within the past 6 months, our Smart Justice program that I mentioned just a moment ago, they do assist individuals with criminal justice challenges and backgrounds. So if any of these apply to you, please get in contact with us and see if we can be of service to you. So where to find us? Well, this is where you can find us. On the left-hand side, you see we have 2 career centers located in Arizona. One is in Mesa, Arizona, and the other one is in Glendale, Arizona. Our current hours are Monday through Thursday. We are open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Fridays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then we also have our partnership sites located all throughout Maricopa County. Avondale, Mesa, Surprise, Gila Bend, Queen Creek, Tempe, Goodyear, Scottsdale, and Wickenburg. At these centers, you can find printers and copiers, fax machines, computer and phone access, different community resources, information about job fairs. We have a center calendar that we put out each month for different no-cost job seeker training workshops. So a lot of the resume that we were discussing, interview workshops, basic computer skills, financial empowerment. So great opportunities to get connected with us. Both of our main centers on the left in Mesa and Glendale, they are equipped with that computer resource center to provide some of those services that I mentioned. And our front desk staff, they're happy to assist you. The best part of all these resources, they are available to you at no cost. So the 9 locations on the partnership side on the right, they can also help support our job seekers within the workforce. So definitely get connected with us. We look forward to partnering with you and helping along the way. And I look forward to speaking a little bit more with you in the breakout room. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. I just have a question for you. So I know there's qualification process for services, but there is a baseline service that is at no cost for anybody. Like anybody can come into the center and use computers, those kind of things. Is that true?
Yes, great question. That is 100% true. Yeah, you can definitely come into any one of our centers using the printers, the copiers, fax machines, checking the job leads. We do have no-cost services available to all. If you're looking for more of the occupational skills training, which is a great program that's available for adults and youth, that's where we can get you connected with some of our individualized services that some of my colleagues here on the call will speak to you a little bit more in detail on those programs and those services. during the breakout rooms, but those are focused on occupational skills training and getting certified at different school providers, and us helping with the funding for those. So we do have individualized services and the basic free no-cost services available to all to help with resumes and job search and interview and other services that we provide.
I love it. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for being here and sharing it. We appreciate your time today. And I know we will have additional people available during the breakout sessions to answer additional questions. So I'll walk through that in just a moment. I also wanted to mention that if you are outside of Maricopa County, the WIOA is a federal program, as Stephen mentioned. And so every state has some type of support programs for workforce development for job seekers. And so in the chat, I dropped a link. And actually, Bree, could you drop these links, add them to our email also? Bree's our event director. And so I'm dropping 2 links again, and both of those links are the federal level of support for job seekers, and you can drill down to your state. Also, if you Google WIOA and then your state, then you should be able to find a similar type of program. I'm putting that in the chat right now too. So Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act is the funding stream and the law, and it will have that has all the details. I mean, if you want to read the law, it's like, I don't know, hundreds of pages, but basically it's support services for job seekers. And so just do WIOA and then your state and see what support services come up. I know that some workforce centers do have virtual offerings as well. There is websites that have trainings, that have workshops, lots of different opportunities. So we appreciate Maricopa County. That's where we're housed, and we thank you for being here today. All right, you guys, I want to go through a couple more things before we drop out some additional resources. And the first thing is I would love your feedback. And so any feedback that you guys can give us would be great. And we are actually going to, if you go to the next slide, we're actually going to drop a link, a survey link into the chat. And I think Wendy is going to drop that in. And if you could jump out and take that, it'll take you 1 minute. And on the next slide, it shows you that we are giving away a $25 Amazon gift card. Right now, we are going to have you take the survey and then come back to the chat and type in done. And we are going to pick one person from the list right now to give away this Amazon gift card. So I'm gonna give you just a minute. Wendy Howell dropped in the survey link in the chat. So open up the chat, click on that link, and then jump out to the survey. It'll ask just a couple questions. We have to get some demographic information as we apply for grants. This is super helpful to us to understand, to get funding, to continue doing this program and expand our services. And so take the survey and then come back to the chat and type in done. And then we'll know you guys are finishing up, and then we'll select somebody here in just a few minutes for the Amazon gift card. Also, on the next slide, you will see we have a couple additional free resources. One of them is an assessment. If you have some questions about what your strengths are, what you're gifted at, your ideal work environment, the DISC is a great way to understand that. This is a no-cost resource. I know Maricopa County and their website has additional assessments, career assessments. So you can take that DISC and get a 24-page report about yourself. And we also have webinar recordings. These go all the way back to COVID. So we have addressed everything from salary negotiation, interviewing, LinkedIn, AI. Our last workshop was about AI. And so that's a really good one to watch. We have tons of information out there. These 2 links will be included in your follow-up email as well. And then on social media, we'd love to connect with you. We're regularly providing content and resources there. Thank you to our partners that make this happen. So we have a lot of partners that help with funding and programming so that we can continue these programs at no cost to you. And one of our partners is Best Companies AZ, and they will be here in the breakout rooms as well. They help support award-winning employers. Now, the employers are based in Arizona, but their employers have jobs all over the nation. Many of them are remote jobs. And so here are some of them. So Best Companies at AZ is, they work with award-winning companies. So they've won, Best Place to Work. They've won Best Place to Work for females or for diversity candidates. And so you'll see on the next slide that we have some awards, or it'll show some of the award examples. And so those are the type of clients that they work with and they represent. So feel free to talk to Jenna. She's being mentioned in the chat. We are also running an event with them in 2 weeks. That is a hiring event that I'll tell you guys about in just a moment. The other program, the other partner we work with is LearnKey. So LearnKey is an online training portal and program, and they have various different trainings so that you can upskill or get certified. And they are available to chat with as well. And so on the next slide, you can see some of the types of certifications that they have or have available, like project management, Microsoft Office. They do assessments. They do exam prep for these short-term pathways, which is really one of our focuses, is how do you get into a career through a short-term upskill. And that is their focus as well. But they also are providing all of you 2 free trainings. So if you're interested in cybersecurity, this is a great way to test to see, is this cybersecurity something for me? And it's also just to protect yourself. I saw in one of the questions about scams and how to protect myself. And so because I know that can really, really be hard when you're going through job search. And so that one, and then also one of the top skills, soft skills employers looking for is looking for people to hire that are trustworthy and credible. And so that's another soft skill, or that's a soft skill training that they're giving away. So those links will also be on your email so that you can take those if you would like. Okay, so what we have coming up is exciting. It's our signature event every year, the fastest growing industries. And we are doing a panel. And so we are taking 4 industries that are growing right now and growing in revenue, but also growing in jobs. And so we're going to take 4 panelists, talk through those industries and kind of the career pathways that are really going well. And then we'll have about 20 companies that will be featured, and they'll each talk for a couple minutes about their company, about their jobs. And this is virtual. And so we have about 20 companies that will be in healthcare, finance and insurance, construction and trades, and manufacturing. So advanced manufacturing. So those are the 4 industries that we will be focusing on. And that is September 19th in 2 weeks. So you can register for that. Then our next monthly event, that is our coaching event and content event, is Interviewing with Confidence. And you'll hear from that or on October 3rd, you can register for that. You can register for that, and it is on October 3rd. And then the next one, and I see we have a typo here. Let me look at the right date. So the one after that we are doing is actually LinkedIn, which you guys had been asking about. And shoot, I know it is the first week in November usually. Let's see, November 7th. November 7th, and the speaker is Kitty Carlisle. So Kitty is the one that's volunteering today. And so that event is November 7th. It's not out yet, posted on our website. We were confirming our secondary speaker, which we confirmed up this week. So that will be live for you to register for within the next week. So those are our upcoming events that you can register for, again, all at no cost. Now we are doing a special program with Arizona at Work, Pinal County. And it's been such a great program, you guys, and so many people have been served by this program. So we are doing virtual and in-person workshops for Pinal County. Pinal County has been super gracious and opened up the virtual workshops to additional people if they would like to attend. But your resume writer of choice that is doing these is Lori. Norris is our trainer for the resume. So if you want more Lori and you want more analogies, come to her workshop. We love it, Lori. We love it. We love it. And so she is teaching the resume, all the resume workshops this year. And then we will also, and that next one is September 10th. We have September 11th. We are doing one specific on finance because people are asking about how to budget. What about unemployment? How do I do that stuff? And so that's there. And then on September 17th, I'm actually teaching the Job Search Essentials workshop. And we have a lot of other ones that are scheduled. There's one on LinkedIn. We have one on digital, just how do I utilize, basics like Microsoft Office, those kind of things. And so all of these, we're doing an interview one. I'm teaching that one. And so some of these are virtual, some of these are in person, and you can register for all of them online. Kitty just dropped in the chat, the direct link to register for these. And we'll also have it on your follow-up email. Oh my gosh, so much good stuff today. Thank you to our amazing volunteers. If you are interested in volunteering, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. So please go ahead and go to careerconnectors.org/volunteer. We're always looking for support and assistance there. And thank you to all of you that continue to help, that you're here at events, that you're doing stuff on the back end, whether it is administrative support, work, coaching, all kinds of volunteers. We have a great board. And so Bree, on the next slide, if you could show some of our coaches and volunteers, how about an awesome round of applause? These are people that also have been letting you in on Zoom today and moderating the chat. And so thank you. We so appreciate you. And we are a 501c3. So after you land, if you are interested in giving back so we can grow and continue these programs, we always appreciate any kind of support and donations. So thank you so much for being here. We're going to transition into our breakout rooms now, and Bree is going to walk you all through how to join a breakout room. We are praying for you all that you do land into the career of your dreams. Thank you for being here today.
All right, so in just a second here, I'm going to open up the break rooms. So you'll see that come up in your toolbar. You're going to click on it. You'll see a list of all of the rooms. There's about 12 to 13 of them. You'll hover over which one you want to join. You'll see the join button to the right, click join, and it'll take you directly to that room. The same way you entered that room is the way you can go around to other rooms. So
Bree, 1 second. Can I interrupt you? I forgot to announce the winner of the gift card.
Oh, yes.
Sorry about that before you open up. So the winner of the $25 gift card is, I'm going to mess up the last name, but Stephen Canales, I think is your name. Stephen, yay, you just won the gift card. So our admin, Robin, should be in contact with you. Let's see, she's here tomorrow. So if you don't hear from her by Monday, please reach out to us and let us know, but she should be reaching out to you. And you got the gift card. So thank you. Thank you all for completing the survey. We really appreciate it. All right, now to the breakout rooms.
So I just opened them all up. So they're open now. If anyone needs any help moving into a breakout room, just let us know in the chat and we can manually move you there. But right now on your screen, you'll see a list of all the breakout rooms to choose from. And then if anyone needs help, just let us know. Thank you.
And I just want to mention the Arizona at Work, Maricopa County, they have 3 rooms. If you'd like information, general information about training, support, workshops, head over to Stephen's room. And then if you have questions about the youth program, which actually youth goes, are ages 16 to 24. So maybe you're recently graduated high school, or you have a student that has graduated and you want some support there. Go in and talk to Asil and Zach. And then the adult program is for everybody else. Lemuel, I'm sorry, I think that's correct, and Alex are in a breakout room and available for you guys. So go ahead and open up your chat box and look for the breakout room that interests you, and then join that breakout room. If you have any problems with joining the breakout room, then let us know in the chat, and our team is waiting, standing by, and will help you get to the room that you want to go to. If you're calling in from your cell phone, sometimes, depends on which phone you have, but usually there's like 3 dots, sometimes on the top of your screen, sometimes on the bottom of your screen. And if you click on those 3 dots, the chat rooms will come up.